What's up, everybody? Welcome to Gruber Nation Live every Friday, noon Eastern. We go live here on YouTube. I'm going to have to add in Instagram and all the other ones, right? Cross different platforms, do the whole thing rather than just here. If you're out there listening, watching, would love to hear a comment from you. I see one comment already right here. I'll pop it up from Capiling Tigua, 1504. There's a Dominican guy named Hey Santana who created the remix that Maduro was dancing. The U.S. informed that see him dancing made them take action. So that helped too. Interesting. Welcome to Gruber Nation Live. Let me know if you can hear me out there. Drop it down below and tell me where in the world you know what? No. Yes. Where in the world are you watching from? But give me one New Year's thing, something fun, a resolution, a story where you spent it. Give me a little New Year's insight because this is our first live of the new year. And I am officially, thanks to Gene Felix, I'm officially live for all of you coming from Jeffers Studios here in Punta Cana, the studio that I'm invested in. Me and my partner, Eric, who's sitting over there with his beautiful white hat. If you can only see him, he looks so sexy today. There, he just did what is that called? No, that's called something like a dab. Yeah. You dabbed. Yeah. I'm looking at some of the comments here. Come in for wedding photos, whatever. What is it called? Sweet 15. What's the name of the 15-year-old girl birthday thing? Quinceañera. Yeah. Quinceañera. Real estate photos, videos. You can rent this studio that I'm in right now, the Gruber Nation Studios, for your own podcast. Come on in when you're down here in Punta Cana. We got a lot to talk about. I got a few different topics that I figured I would address, and it's going to start with the Maduro capture. Whether or not that was legal, we'll get into it. Why not? It's a world event. We can all talk about world events. Whoa, my chat just went crazy. And the potential impact on the Dominican Republic. So we'll get into a little bit of analysis on what does it mean that Maduro was captured? What does it mean for the potential of Venezuela to rise? And then we'll go from there. And I know this is a heated topic. Behind that, we're going to get into Abinader. Just announced a few cabinet position changes. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about debt in DR. I went to Santiago recently and some people were like, you don't understand. All that stuff you're seeing happening is all because we're overloaded with debt. I agree that there's more debt than there's ever been. I don't believe at all. In fact, factually, I'll prove to you that DR is not overloaded with debt. But I'll explain why I think many people think that's the case. We'll get into that. And on the back end of it, if there's time or whatever, we can go for as long as you guys want to. We might get into some of the comeuppance in the United States, particularly the ICE agent shooting of a woman in Minnesota. And again, all in the context of Dominican Republic. So we'll roll through it. What I'd love from all of you is a couple of things, if you don't mind. Number one, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button. There's 50 of us here right now. But number two, hit that like button. I'm in a different software, but there's like a heart. You tap it and hit it a bunch of times and people start to see this live. So let's get people in the room. And then number three, drop some comments. Let me know what you're doing, where you're coming from. I did ask for where people are. Toronto, Justin says, look forward to a future meetup. Me too, Justin. I plan to get up there at some point. Skeptical 59 says, cheers from a Canadian in Bulgaria, headed to DR next month. You sound confused, Skeptical. I'm just kidding. That's awesome. I love seeing people get around the world. Dallas, Texas for the Cole 718. I got to get glasses. My eyes are getting worse. David Fofi, good to see you, my friend. Hey, from Texas, says Todd Dallin. Texas, moving to Sosua in October. Congrats to you, man. That's amazing. Amazing. Congratulations. Liberalilos says it was legal. I'm assuming he's talking about the Maduro raid, but maybe he's talking about marijuana. Maybe he's talking about something we don't even know that he's talking about. Yeah, but we'll get into it. Greetings from bloody old England. It's my best British accent. Sorry. Says, what is that? Libiarlos. Why don't people just use like their name when they make their YouTube channel? Be way easier for me. David Fofi, smash the like button. I really appreciate that. I'm going to bring that back up here in a second. Chris, welcome back. Thank you. I did take last week off, but we're back. We're live, and we're getting into some really heavy topics today. Carlos Adrian says, Cuse. I'm guessing you're from Syracuse. Montreal, going to try Airbnb vacation in Punta Cana this summer. Amazing. When you come down here, please try something off resort. If you've never done anything off resort, try it. Just try it, but just get a good Airbnb. That was Gene Felix again. Canadian in the DR. We got a lot of Canadians on today. Skeptical is back. I'm usually confused, so no problem. We got the Bronx. We got my favorite, Hilda. Hilda, good to see you. says hello. Long Island, Albert Jimenez. Good to see Albert as always. And last but not least so far, we have Puerto Plata for Wade Rosella TL for 1 year and 7 months. I don't know if it's good that you're counting every month. Is it like, I've been here for 1 year and freaking seven months? Or is it like, man, 1 year and 7 months. I can't wait for it to be more. I'm curious about that. This is your name? Libiarlos. All right. Then you know what? This is the issue with Dominican names for me. I'm going to go down. Your name is Eric.
Yes.
Why is it so easy?
Wow. Well, we used to have two names in Dominican Republic.
No. Well, we have like a nickname and a name. What's your other?
No. Two names.
Oh, Eric what?
On my cellular. Eric Jonathan.
Eric. Well, that's still two easy names. What I see is like a conglomeration of names jammed together by a family member. Like, we want to name this kid after everything we are. So you'll have like Mary and Juan, and the girl is like Marijuana or something. Right? I think I said I have an uncle Heriberto, an aunt named Francia. The kids are Eddie, Franci, Francieri,
yes, and
Roberto. Heriberto. Anyway. That's a Dominican thing. It's hilarious to me. We'll be there in Erede towards the end of February. Speaking of, look what I got for Christmas. My family got me this of Erede. I don't know if you could see that. They got me this bottle, right? And then the other side, because I lose it a lot, look at that. They got my name engraved on it. Isn't that cool? That was neat. I thought that was a neat Christmas gift. So very cool. Las Vegas, says John. Thank you, John. I could say John. My parents from Santiago loved your show. Very informative. Just got back from Santiago. Did a big video on Santiago. I kind of knew it because Santiago people love Santiago. It did really well. It's still doing really well on YouTube. And we're going back for a part 2 and a part 3. It's JJ from Rio San Juan. We met at Blue Mall. I hope to see you soon so we could talk about the transportation situation in Bávaro. JJ, I'm trying to look at the picture. I meet a lot of people at Blue Mall. Man, the picture's so small. My eyes are bad. But good to see you, my friend. Love Rio San Juan. Easy Dominican name, very rare. Yes, it is. And even like, I feel like the other thing, do you have a nickname? Do you have like a family nickname?
Wow, no.
No, my wife, maybe some of you, let me know in the comments if this is true for you. My wife didn't know her real name until kindergarten.
Wow.
So she was born Sylvia, but given a nickname instantly. And until she was 5 years old in kindergarten, when they're in the classroom doing roll call, like calling out the kids, Sylvia, she was like, that's my middle name. That's my last name. Is that me? So she's like, me? And she went home and her mom confirmed, oh, yeah, your name is Sylvia. So she didn't know her name.
We use a lot.
A lot of nicknames. I always say, like, when they at the hospital, it's like, okay, what is the child's name? Okay, and what is the real name? You know, like, give me the name you're really going to say. I don't think that's funny. I think it's funny. We're going to get to it, folks. I promise. If you're just joining, like, what is he talking about? We're going to talk about Venezuela. We're going to talk about a lot of things. What can I get for 150? We're going to get back to that, Pete Beck, at another time. And I used to make fun of combined names too, but then I was dating a girl whom her and her siblings has lots of combined names, so I stopped making fun of it. I have not stopped, nor will I ever stop making fun of the combined names. All right. Let's get it. People in England call me Libby, but that makes sense. If your name is Libarios, people in England call me Libby. That makes sense to me. All right, let's dive into it. If you hadn't heard, if you've been under a rock recently, well, actually, let me do this just because I might chop the front and go right into this for the thing. Welcome to Gruber Nation Live. We're going to talk about amazing topics today, including the Maduro capture in Venezuela. We're going to go into some stuff about Abinader and some moves he made, debt in the Dominican Republic, Santiago. I got a lot of questions about, you were in Santiago. Why didn't she see this? Why didn't she see that? How many hours of video did we do in Santiago?
Wow. It was a lot.
So we're 30 hours.
Yeah.
It was a ton of video. So a lot of people are like, you didn't film this. I'm like, oh, we filmed everything, but I can't release 30 hours on YouTube. So you just got to make some decisions and make some cuts.
It was incredible the way you did that video. Like, you guys edit that video. That was
crazy.
incredible.
You watched it?
Yes.
It was really good, right?
I watched everything.
Well, he filmed it. This guy right here, Jeffer Studios, book it. He was with me. He filmed it the whole 9. But Maduro, let's start with him. So he was captured in Caracas by a U.S. operation targeting his, extraction, he and his wife's extraction from Venezuela, and was brought back to New York, as everybody saw. And from that point forward, the news is blown up. Everybody's got an opinion on this. Everybody's got thoughts. And I'll be honest with you, I was in that, like, I'm a creator, right? So I'm like, I want to talk about this. I'm thinking about this, but I didn't. I didn't make a video. Instead, I thought I'm going to wait to this Friday, go live, and let's talk about it in the context of the live. And I wanted to take some time to really, to the best of my knowledge, understand it. Because I think sometimes when you hear some pundits or influencers talk about it, they start as if they've been studying this their whole lives. I haven't been. I know where Venezuela is. I know what it is. I'm familiar with Maduro and Chavez before him. I know about oil. I know certain things that we all know. I know Venezuelan people. Many friends here are Venezuelan that I know. One of the guests that I have on Grub with Gruber coming out is Venezuelan. So that's the context. But can I sit here and say, like, off the top of my head, when this raid happened, I can assess good, bad, how much of a celebration it would be for Venezuela? I figured a lot would be, but it was more like not exponentially. It was insane how I haven't seen a country so aligned around one thing. I get why, trust me. But crazy and honestly uplifting to see the amount of celebration that came out of this for Venezuelan people. But then, is it legal? Was it the right thing? And then the last question I got, and my inner circle really got into this recently. We had a good discussion in our WhatsApp group. Is like, what's the impact on DR? Is there any? His capture, from a standpoint of like, what does it mean geopolitically for a country like DR? But also, if Venezuela, and I hope it does, sees a rise in the near future, if it becomes a power player, if it becomes the hot commodity of the future, a lot of international investment, does it mean anything maybe negatively for DR or positively? So I would love to hear your thoughts as I go through. Drop it in the chat. Put your thoughts in there as long or as short as you want it to be, and we'll go through them here in a little bit. But let me just roll through where I see this, just so you have a sense of my take on the whole thing. I believe that Maduro not in power is better for Venezuela, full stop. Whether he choked on a chicken wing or his wife took him out or somebody in country started a coup to remove him from power, I think Maduro not in power is good. let's just box that up and put it over here. That is a good thing. What happens after Maduro is, I know Trump, we're going to control the country for a number of years. We're going to run it. I saw a meme about Marco Rubio rolling his eyes at a press conference, and it said something like, when you've just been named the new president of Venezuela. Like that's kind of a joke, obviously, but what happens in the aftermath, we'll talk about. But then the question becomes like, did the U.S. do the right thing? Did the U.S. do something that's legal? And this is where I really, really got into it. And I found this article today, actually, from Reuters, was the U.S. capture of Venezuela's president legal? Now, one of the things I noticed with this right away, when you say Venezuela's president, a lot of Venezuelans take major issue with saying that. Because a fact that we know is that most other nations, including DR and the United States, did not recognize Maduro as the de facto president, as the president he was an illegitimate president. He was voted out, technically. So that term I've noticed for a lot of Venezuelans, like, do not call him our president because he was voted out. We didn't want him and he should be gone. This whole article goes into what happened and everything else. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't read a ton, but down here, essentially all it says is experts in international law said that Trump had muddled the legal issues by claiming the operation was both a targeted law enforcement mission and the potential prelude to long-term control of Venezuela by the U.S. You cannot say this was a law enforcement operation and then turn around and say, now we need to run the country, said Jeremy Paul, a professor at Northeastern University specializing in constitutional law. It just doesn't make any sense. I don't think that is the point. The point is, does the U.S. have the ability and the right to go do this? And maybe even more so from a U.S. perspective, does Trump have the ability and the right to go in and do this without congressional approval? So let's do a little history on this. The comparisons that I see are first Noriega, who was removed from Panama in 1989, I think it was, long time ago. To the day, I think it was to the day that Noriega was removed was the day Maduro was removed, like 26 years later or whatever it might be, something like that, or 36 years later, whatever the timeline is. But a lot of people say, yeah, see, Reagan got congressional approval, or not Reagan, Bush got congressional approval to remove Noriega. Like, why didn't Trump? Fair. However, something happened in the 90s under the Clinton administration that changed presidential power to some extent, and it was expanded under Bush after 9/11, especially, where the Patriot Act gave way too many powers to the country, my opinion. But in the mid-90s, there was something called a foreign terrorist organization designation, meaning that you can designate somebody as part of a terrorist organization. And through time, that essentially gave the president powers when targeting a terrorist organization to act unilaterally. The next question becomes like, okay, just because you can doesn't mean that Trump should have, and he's breaking the law. Well, here's the deal. If you go back through history since the FTO designation, every president has used it to unilaterally act in some way. The overwhelming majority of those actions were not to remove a head of state. It was bin Laden. It was al-Baghdadi. It was people that, it was, I forget the guy's name, but he was a U.S. citizen who had, I guess you could say, radicalized or adopted radical Islam and was killed by the Obama administration in, I forget where, Yemen, Pakistan, somebody will know. So these powers have been used by other presidents. But this, many might say, is like, yeah, but he removed a head of state, a sitting head of state. I'm not going to say president, but a head of state. And when I say head of state, he was in control of the military of a sovereign nation. If you look at like questions of constitutionality for where the U.S. can act, it's less about Maduro being legitimate. It's more about the U.S. entering a sovereign nation and removing its de facto head of state. Okay. So should he have done that? There's only one other example that I saw in history where a U.S. president acted unilaterally to remove a head of state. I'm curious if anybody knows who it is. Just drop it down in the chat if you know what country a U.S. president authorized some support or force to remove a sitting head of state in a sovereign nation. Let me know if you know what that is and who it was. Before I get to that, here's what I'll say. If you are somebody who today looks back at the last time this happened and said that was wrong, that the president, I don't care how he justifies it, the president shouldn't have done that, and says it today about Trump, I get that. If you're somebody today who says, I supported the president then, I support the president now, I get that. But if you're somebody who says, Trump, awesome, he did it, and you didn't support it last time because of who the president was, or the reverse, if you supported it last time because of who the president was and don't support it now because it's Trump, then to me, that's blatant hypocrisy. Libya and Gaddafi, right here, skeptical, was the last time a U.S. president authored or authorized unilateral action in some way, shape, or form to remove a sitting head of state. Some might say the actions were very different, and that's fine. The logic behind what they did, meaning like in this case, they went into Caracas, U.S. Forces went in there and extracted a head of state. In Libya, from what I can remember, what I could tell, it was more of a support mission, not like a blatant, like, we're going to go in there. But either way, the president used, I think it's Article 2 that was Obama, and the president today used Article 2 to do the same sort of thing, to remove a head of state with U.S. power or U.S. backing or U.S. intervention. So I'm cool with anybody who saw both of those incidents, whether you're left, right, upside down, or backwards. If you saw both of them as good, or both of them as bad, I'm cool with it. Where I get nutty and it becomes more and more present to me, or visible or obvious to me, the longer I live outside of the United States, is when somebody is going nuts about the outcome because of who the messenger was. Because I bet you 10, 15 years ago, whenever it was that Gaddafi was removed, if you are sitting on the left, you were cool with it because it was Obama. Or you're cool with it now, but back then, you and Fox News were saying Obama just did something illegal. That's the part that drives me absolutely nuts. So is this something where, here we go. I got Deshaun Hall says disagreeing with both. Cool. I completely support that. I don't mean I disagree with both. I don't agree with both. I actually don't know where I sit on whether or not this was legal. I just know that the outcome for the Venezuelan people is good. And then everything else that we want to talk about, what happens next, nobody knows. None of us know. The other talking point that I hear quite a bit is, I like this, skeptical. Hope something good comes out of it. Exactly. The other talking point I hear from a lot of people is like U.S. intervention has never, I saw this on Instagram. Somebody posted it in a comment. Yeah, Jamie, so you need to understand. I get that stuff. And I'm like, look, man, I probably study this shit way more than this person does. But you need to understand when the U.S. gets involved, nothing good ever happens. No country ever in a regime change ever comes out for the better. And I was like, really? I'm like, that's I disagree with you. And he's like, name an example. I want to hear from some of you. Can any of you name examples of countries? I know examples where it didn't work, and I can explain especially where it didn't work. But what are some examples of countries where it did work? Doesn't matter about loving Trump or not loving Trump. I'm just saying U.S. regime change. Does anybody here have any example of when it's worked? When the U.S. intervened and there was regime change and the country has thrived from that point forward? Any examples of that anybody can cite? Let me know, because I could cite a bunch. And what I could tell you is, if you look at the Middle East, Yemen, Iraq, Iran. I think there's like 7 total times that the U.S. has attempted to intervene in the Middle East. And in the Middle East, 0 for 7. 0 for 7. Never, ever was a U.S. regime change in the Middle East ever. Did it ever, achieve the objective of a democratized country that is westernized, if you will? Never. Big mistake by the U.S., in my opinion, going into the Middle East and doing anything. It's just not. It's not a Western culture. It's a very different culture. You're not going to force an ideology into a very different culture. But in the rest of the world, there are examples. Here's one. Panama. Noriega's removal and what Panama is today, there's a correlation. Now, Panama went through, of course, an initial dip. I think Venezuela, as crazy as it sounds, will go through an initial dip. And I don't even like calling it that, because that dip, as I say it lightly, could be famine. It could be bad, depending on what the U.S. does here. But when you remove a guy in Maduro who had no bench, he had no, strategy for succession plan, had no succession plan, was literally giving oil away to other countries in order to make sure that he was protected by them, China, Iran, Russia, so on and so forth. This guy, there's no strength of leadership in Venezuela under him, because it was him and then that's it. He had a vice president, whatever, but there's no bench. When you remove that guy, yes, I hope for a more positive regime change in that country than the last time this was attempted by the United States. But still, it's likely that there will be still mass migration out of Venezuela for a period that is going to be shaky for a little while for them. And again, I'm using words that probably don't really speak to the true pain that people might feel in Venezuela. My opinion, folks, my opinion on this. But Panama came out of it. Here's a few more. Japan, Germany, Italy, in part, Dominican Republic. Trujillo came in because he was trained by U.S. Marines. Trujillo was removed by the CIA. There was, what was the president, Balaguer? Yes. More totalitarian, right? More dictatorial, I think. But then you see the rise of Dominican Republic. I mean, could you argue that U.S. intervention eventually did allow for DR to thrive? You could argue it. Some may not agree with that. I'm not saying it yay or nay, but there's some argument there. You have Grenada is an example. Somebody just said Grenada. Here you go. Grenada is an example. There are many examples of U.S. intervention and regime change that actually worked. This isn't to say that the U.S. should go around taking, Greenland, or now going in and taking out Petro in Colombia. Not advocating that at all. We're just sticking to the facts here, people. I want to make sure I level set on that. This isn't an opinion thing. I'll tell you when I have my opinion. I will absolutely tell you, this is what I think. But right now, we're just level setting on the facts. The facts are that regime change is not an over game for the United States historically. It's an over in the Middle East, but in the rest of the world, let's call them they're a little bit above 500. For whatever that's worth. Doesn't always work, but it works. And then we can get to this point. There you go. Heriberto, Trump wants petroleum. Yes. And here's what I would say about that, right? There was the whole talk. There's a mosquito flying around. You see that thing? Look at that guy. It's a Dominican one. They merengue. They go fast, man. I go like this. I see it right between my hands and it's like bachata. Boom, it's gone. Fast. Mosquitoes here are ridiculous. I got to use the big racket. But anyway, we talk about petroleum. Here's my take on this. And I want to make sure people understand this is facts as well. Venezuela, well, first of all, the United States develops 13 to 15 million mines, or what is it, drills for creates 13 to 15 million barrels a day of oil. So the U.S. is a major oil producer. Venezuela has the largest reserve of oil, but the type of oil Venezuela has, and this I've known for a while, is very thick. It's sulfur rich, and we don't have refining capacity in the United States. So the idea, I think some have it in their head, he's going to go get the oil and bring it to the U.S. It's no, he can't. We don't have refining capability here. But you know who does have refining capability and needs this type of crude oil? China. And to date, most of the oil that Venezuela was mining, and Maduro's reduced their capabilities quite a bit, was being given essentially at a huge discount to China in exchange for some level of protection and entry into Venezuela. As an American and as somebody living in the Western Hemisphere, this is my opinion, I get why we don't want China in Venezuela. That makes sense to me. And I get why, if we removed Maduro, why we would stake claim to the oil, not from a standpoint of our own profit and nothing for Venezuela. It's got to go to Venezuela. If this whole thing becomes like U.S. enrichment and Venezuela gets nothing, that's not good. I don't want that. But do I want China involved and Russia involved with influence in the hemisphere that we live in? No, I don't. That's what the Cuban Missile Crisis in the 50s was at, right? Like, we didn't want nukes parked 90 miles off the shore of Miami. I mean, this is just, guys, geopolitics, there's always going to be superpowers. There's always going to be egos between countries battling. You can't have China that close to the U.S. border with that much influence. So the extraction of oil, or the claim for oil, if it is enriching Venezuelans and also Americans benefit from it, I'm cool with that. If it went all the Venezuelans with no American enrichment, I'm cool with that. But allowing Venezuelan oil to have been stolen by Maduro from his own people and given to other countries for influence and narco-terrorism in Venezuela is not good. And I think any Venezuelan, if any of you are on here, let me know. I'm not Venezuelan, not going to pretend to know the plight of a Venezuelan. But I think most Venezuelans would say, look, man, if we get some money from the oil, cool. It's better than what we've had. Because to date, the oil was stolen and sent elsewhere. It was literally Maduro's protection mechanism for himself. I'm going to use our most abundant natural resource, and I'm going to ship it to places that needs it. That's it. Somebody else mentioned to me on the here we go. I'm gonna go with this because I feel like I'm gonna get opposite opinions on this. But Walker Castro says you are 100% correct on this. I've done a lot of research, guys, and again, my opinion on this is that it's better that Maduro's gone, and it's better that the U.S. has some oversight and control over oil in this hemisphere. That's better. How we got here, I'm just laying out the facts. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I really don't. I don't know how I felt about Obama with Gaddafi. I really don't. I'm two different people, right? I really don't. So I'm willing to admit that. I'm not quite sure, like, was this the right move? Was it not? But I did. I was like, man, regime change is always bad, right? And then I did my research. I'm like, oh, no, wait. Regime change has actually worked in many places. Never works in the Middle East, but it's worked in other places. The oil, I knew, is not something the U.S. can use, but I know China can. And I don't want to make it, it's not as if all the oil that China gets is from Venezuela. No, Russia provides a lot of oil. Venezuela is one of the suppliers. But cutting off China's back end, which is Venezuela's like a support mechanism oil-wise for that country, is a good thing for the United States. Whether we agree with U.S. policy or not, it's a good thing for the United States. All right. So that is some of the levels. Oh, I'm sorry. One of the points somebody made is like, now the U.S. will force DR to buy its oil from them instead of Venezuela, which to me, I said to this person, like, you couldn't be more wrong. There's no way you could be more wrong with that statement than you know. And this is what I mean. There's a lot of misinformation out there, guys. Like, and I just want to be factual. The U.S. is the number one provider of oil to DR. Like 85% of the DR's oil comes from the U.S. The number two, I think, is Colombia. And then it might be Mexico. Like, Venezuela does not in any way, not in any major way provide oil to the Dominican Republic. It just doesn't. It's a different kind of oil. Again, it filters through China. It's differently refined. It's not the same product. It's like, I don't know. It's two different things. So again, a lot of stuff out there about, oh, the motivation is this. And yeah, I agree. Motivation is oil. If you want to talk about where drugs originated, it ain't Venezuela. There's a trafficking element, but you've got a guy in power that is illegitimate, that the president designated as the head of a cartel, which is designated a foreign terrorist organization. The U.S. went in and got him. And yes, they're going to make claim to the oil. Absolutely. Speaking of, going back to the foreign terrorist organization thing, that FTO designation is what Trump placed on Cartel Las Soles. Tell me if I said that wrong. Cartel Las Soles, S-O-L-E-S, which most agree reasonably that Maduro was a leader of, if not the leader of. So the justification by the president, the State Department, all actors involved in this, and going into a sovereign nation and extracting the illegitimate president of that nation, was that he was designated as a foreign terrorist organization, don't need correct congressional approval. So there's like from a legal perspective, that probably passes constitutional muster. And that there was another point I was going to make. So he went in on a foreign terrorist organization play to get him out. Oh, and that he was not the legitimate president of the country. So he's not technically a head of state. And I think that's the one where constitutional interpretation is a little dicey. I think that if somebody could easily convince me either way that on that point, the U.S. should have or shouldn't have gotten congressional approval, I could be convinced either way on that. Like, I don't know. I'm not a constitutional scholar. But when you go into a sovereign nation and take out the recognized current person directing the military and the day-to-day operation of that country, the breach of sovereignty is the concern with whether or not you needed congressional approval. Okay. Let me see what comments you have, because then I'm going to get into how this impacts DR. The U.S. removed Maduro to prevent China and Russia to use Venezuela's oil to support Nicaragua and Cuba. Christian, amazing. I want to get into Colombia here in a second, because I think the Colombian president is making a major mistake on not coming to the Dominican Republic. I'll explain that here in a second. Let's see what else we got. Venezuelan oil infrastructure modernized by U.S. companies, allowing Venezuela to own Citgo gas in the USA. Another very good point. I'm going to go back to this one because I like it. You are 100% correct on this. Thank you to Walk Castro, I think that says. Appreciate that. The real reason the Trump administration invaded Venezuela is to save the U.S. petrodollar system, where oil is priced in dollars, faces challenges from BRICS Global Alliance. Albert, spot on. Another great point. Absolutely. That is another big reason. We got your spot on by Libby out in England. Jolly old England. The oil is similar to one Canada exports to the U.S. USA can replace it with cheaper oil from Venezuela. Big potential issue to Canada. Interesting. I haven't looked into that. That's an interesting take. Venezuelan here. Libby, I appreciate your perspective, truly. In either way, but I think on this topic, of course, I'm a white dude living in the Dominican Republic, pontificating about Venezuela. Not an expert in any of this, folks, but I want to know what's real, because the news, man, like, I don't want to jump ahead, but the Minnesota thing, the shooting, like, I'm watching this thing and I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how I feel, but it's like this way is coming in and this way is coming. It's like, whoa. What do I feel about this? We'll talk about that a little bit later in the DR involved, not DR involved, but like we'll wrap in how that's relevant for DR. China has evolved into an economic and military powerhouse. U.S. is feeling threatened from China. 100% SK. And they should. And we should worry about that. This is my take. Hot take. I should get like a banner so you know this is my take, my opinion. The U.S., DR, all of us should worry about China being the number one superpower in the world. And I'll tell you this, as much as many people don't like Trump's tariff policy, I didn't support at the beginning. I look at it now and I go, smartest thing he did. One, it does bring revenue into the country. And I got to see if the jobs report came out. I'm curious what the jobs report said today. But two, it has delayed China's ability to become the number one superpower. There are companies like World Emblem moving to places like the Dominican Republic in lieu of China because of tariffs on China. The U.S. needs to slow China's roll. This world will serve one master. It'll serve the U.S. It'll serve China. I don't like serving any master, to be very clear, but the world will. Let's just be realistic, right? If you're a kid in a household, you're going to live by your parents' rules, even if you can't stand your parents. Let's just be realistic. The parents of the world are the U.S. and China. To an extent, the U.S. is the real parent of the world. If China becomes the dominant country in the world, if BRICS becomes the currency, the reserve currency of the world, I shudder for what would happen after that, to be honest with you. But China is an economic powerhouse. You can't deny it. And they're still going to be. They're not going away. They are a nimble nation, and they're doing things that are actually going to continue to make them grow. Let's see what else we got. Thank you, Libby, couldn't agree more. Obama didn't dethrone Gaddafi. There was a civil war and his own people dethroned him. Yes, with U.S. backing. You can go back and look at it. Obama he literally signed the thing. Like, Obama was not like, oh, look, everybody, yay, they took out Gaddafi for us. Obama was involved. The problem lies in that Trump is not treating the hemisphere with kindness. Carlos, maybe. I don't know about treating the hemisphere with kindness. Here's my take on this. Trump sounds like a complete and utter moron in the way that he says things about people, hemisphere, this woman in Minnesota. Like, dude, we're so sorry to see the loss of a life, and we're going to investigate. Like, that's what a president should say. I don't care if you love the guy, if you think he's the greatest thing ever. Dude, a 37-year-old woman, I think she's silly for having been involved to the level that she was, but whatever. I don't think that means anybody deserves to lose their life. And the legality of it, maybe we'll punt that to the end of this live. But afterward, the rhetoric, man, like, you're the leader of the free world, tone it down. Take his phone. Somebody's got to take his phone away from him. Something. So that stuff kills me. So not treating the hemisphere with kindness. I don't know. I'd be curious to know your thoughts on that. So what I see is he is going full on Monroe Doctrine, 2026 version, which I don't think is a bad thing for the hemisphere. if you're not familiar, the Monroe Doctrine under James Monroe was in a time when the U.S. was far less powerful, but it essentially said to Europe, like, Western Hemisphere is our backyard, stay out. That was the Monroe Doctrine, and it led to a lot of policy and everything else. And now once the U.S. became a superpower, we ruled the hemisphere. China, by control of the Panama Canal, or at least influence of the Panama Canal, by getting into Venezuela. You have Cuba, you have Nicaragua. I'm worried about Colombia a little bit. Again, we'll talk about it. The U.S. needs to, I think, in its own hemisphere as a superpower, again, being realistic about how the world works, not how we'd like for it to work. The U.S. needs to exert its power in the hemisphere from a standpoint of kicking out Eastern influences, in my opinion. So I don't know. I mean, he doesn't speak very kindly to Petro. He doesn't speak very kindly to, what's her name? The president of Mexico. With DR, a lot of alignment. With many other nations, a lot of alignment. Venezuelans love him right now. Tell you what, they think he did the kindest thing in the world for them. 100%. I mean, 95% of Venezuelans, I think, would say that right now. So he doesn't sound very good. I agree with you. But I don't know. I think it's almost like with your kids. Like, I know this isn't a great, but I'm live, folks. So just go with me. But my brain is going to, like, with your kids, sometimes they don't see something as fair, but you have to kind of, like, you may know what's best for them, or at least you have the ability to what you think is best, install that. And I think there's a little bit of that, but he doesn't come across as kind. Let's see. He couldn't care less about everybody else. I don't agree with that either. I don't agree. And here's why. Watch Bill Maher, who is not a Trump supporter. Bill Maher is a leftist. Watch Bill Maher talk about his White House visit with Trump. And if you listen to a lot of people that have been close to him, I think he cares about people. But again, I don't think he displays it very well. He's not a perfect human, not by a long shot. He's flawed in so many ways, but that's it. I'm on point. I appreciate that. Arnaldo Mendez. Arnaldo. I've never heard Arnaldo. It's a great name. Let's see. China and Iran depends on Venezuelan oil, so we can see where this is going pertaining to the United States. I guess it's the game of chess, not checkers. I mean, it's like, there's a bit of a checkmate, not checkmate, but like they're in check. It's a big move for the U.S. to take back, if you will, influence, control, whatever you want to call it, of Venezuela, and really put a dent in China and Iran and Russia for sure. Heavy oil, according to Jack Ryan, is not just oil, but rare earths, coal, platinum, lithium, for sure. You see it in DR. There's a rare earths, a lot of rare earth minerals here. The United States and the DR have agreed to extraction and partnership on rare earths. DR has created an SRL, like a Dominican LLC, around the business that will extract rare earths and send it to the United States. I don't know how they're going to subcontract it. I know Cotuí comes into this. People get nuts about that. Not going to go into it, but rare earths are a big deal, especially in the age of lithium batteries and semiconductors and everything else. And there's a lot happening with semiconductors right now in this country. Do you have a diplomatic passport? I do not, P-Beck. I do not. Venezuela oil is heavy. Oil is more expensive to refine. Expensive? I guess that means expensive. If Trump visits Punta Cana, you, Jamie, should be the one giving him a tour. Yeah, I don't know. I don't, guys. This is like worlds that people say, like, oh, you should run, mayor of Punta Cana. I know it's a joke, but like, I don't like politics. I really don't. I think it's interesting to see how things happen. And more than anything, if you were to like really examine, or if I would examine myself from afar, it's like, this is a guy, meaning me, that really enjoys digging in and understanding things and then articulating his point of view on it, and tries to stay as down the middle as he can. I really do. I don't, on the political side, if anything else, it's like, as much as people love to be left, right, like that kind of visceral, like, I'm a Trumper, or I'm on the left, I'm a Democrat. As much as people love that, I equally love not being either. Does that make sense? Like, I have the same passion not to be labeled by those as some people want to be labeled by those. So that's kind of my take on it. YouTube interrupting your rants with commercials. Really? You got to get premium. Chevron Oil is a big business. Congratulations. Yes, it is. I know I've been watching your videos for a while now. Appreciate that, Libby. All right. Let me see what else we got here. Jobs report came out at 10. I haven't seen it yet, Jose. I got to take a look at it. Maybe we'll do it live here. We'll see what it says. I think the prediction was 73,000 non-farm jobs added, and 4.5% unemployment was the prediction. I'm curious if it performed better or worse than that. Let's see. There is hope that the whole hemisphere is in a better place right now. I love that. Great word. Because as much as I say I think it's a good thing, I don't know what the future holds. I don't know. I have no idea. It's called the Donroe Doctrine now. If Trump came up with that, he is a marketer for sure. Oh, that's another thing we're talking about. We're talking about his housing bill. All right, let me just talk. Venezuela move was to stir South America from left to right. Colombia and Brazil are the only two countries where communists are in power. On Colombia real quick, and then we'll talk about the Venezuelan rise potentially and its impact on DR. But on Colombia, if you didn't see this, Petro, the president of Colombia, and I know I'm not saying that with a really good, I'm saying it very gringo-like, Petro, a couple things. One, Trump said after the Venezuela raid, like, if Petro doesn't shape up, I'm paraphrasing, if Petro doesn't shape up, I'm coming after him too. Petro replied smartly, not with a come to Miras Flores like Maduro said, I'm be waiting right here. He didn't do that. He's kind of like, look, man, chill. My issue with Petro is he does not like the idea of unilateral U.S. Control of a hemisphere. And I can respect that. I completely get that. But then what Petro did was say, hey, the Summit of the Americas, which was scheduled to take place here in December in Punta Cana, and now has been postponed to a date that I haven't seen. Maybe somebody has, and let me know if you have. A date that has been postponed to sometime this year because of the tensions in the region. He at the time said, I'm boycotting, I'm not going. Okay, but his reason to me is really suspect. I don't like the U.S. unilaterally running the Western Hemisphere, and I'm not going to go because you didn't include 3 countries. You know what 3 countries he was upset were not invited to the Summit of the Americas? Venezuela, Nicaragua, Cuba. If you believe that the U.S. needs to do things differently and the president or vice president of the United States is going to be in a place with every other leader in the Western Hemisphere other than 3 communist dictators, and you could go to that conference as the president of a major country in Colombia and have influence and conversation and exercise diplomacy in that room to make your point on what you believe is the right way for the hemisphere to operate, and you say no because 3 terrible dictators are who you're going to align with, like they got to come too, you got a problem. It scares me. Petro doesn't have the same control over everything that Maduro had in Venezuela. He's not the same guy, right? He's leftist. He's more socialist and everything, but he's not Maduro. Let's be clear. But you're aligning with Maduro, and I can't remember the guy's name, Nicaragua and the Castro regime. You're aligning with them to boycott a conference where you could go in and make your point clearly to the biggest, all the leaders and the biggest ones in the Western Hemisphere. I don't get Colombia in this. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. And you're signaling to many that you are going that way toward Venezuela more than you're going toward where the rest of the hemisphere is going. That's just my take. I'd be curious to hear what some of you think. All right. For the Dominican Republic, what does this all mean? Seeing if anybody has any thoughts on this. Most people don't know what's going on in Latin America for the past 27 years. That's fair, Libby. Very fair. For Venezuela, for Dominican Republic, Venezuela. Let's just project forward what may or may not happen, right? Let's go with the best case scenario. My belief, just my thoughts. The best case scenario, I believe, is you'll see some level of degradation in the country because there's a vacuum created, right? You cut off the head of the snake and there's no body, right? He doesn't have a body there. Like he was running things through control. You got the head of the military, the head of this, everybody's still there. They were all following Maduro. They were, whatever he said to do, they did. Now you don't have that. And the U.S. is saying they're going to come in. We'll see how messy or clean that is. But there's a chance that you still have mass migration out of the country for a period of time, that you have lacking resources. The U.S. is still seizing oil. There's still it feels like there's constriction still around the neck of Venezuela. I think in the short term, as things stabilize, and they will at some point, is my hope, that you'll see a lot of an overcorrection of visitation. There's a lot of people, including in the inner circle, a member said, I can't tell you how happy I am today. I can see my grandmother, who I haven't seen in so many years, and she's never met my 5-month-old or my kid, my 5-year-old, whatever it was, right? Like I can maybe finally see my grandmother before she passes with my kid and let her meet my kid. Like those stories are going to be plentiful. And I hope that happens sooner rather than later. Just human beings being able to reconnect with the place they were born and the people that they love. That's so beautiful. So beautiful. At a certain point, I think, maybe it's now. I think that you'll see an end to the migration out. Maybe it even might start right now. Who knows? Depends on how long there's a period of sort of like uncertainty in the country. But if you have less migration out, then DR does feel that. About 1% of the population in the Dominican Republic is Venezuelan. So there's been migration here to the US, to many places. But there's a lot of talent that migrated to DR from Venezuela. So it's not, I mean, there's all types. You know, people talk about like, are they criminal? Are they low income? Are they high income? But there's a lot of talent here. Engineers, developers, influential people that are Venezuelan that have come here over the last 26 years or more. If that talent outflow stops, it's a higher socioeconomic group, then you may see some stagnation in growth of real estate value. You may see some stagnation in growth of rent. I don't think a ton, but I think you may. And I don't think it's widespread. I think it's in certain sectors, certain markets where these folks might live right now. So that's a potential downside for Dominican Republic. But again, one that anybody would take for Venezuela to be free and hopefully prospering. And then the other one is, what happens if Venezuela becomes a destination, not only for tourism, but for international investment and everything else? And here's my thesis on that. If if Venezuela, and I hope it does, attracts international investment and tourism, that is overall net a very positive thing for the Dominican Republic. In marketing terms, I can't remember the name of the phrase for it, but there's a concept. It's this, and I'll give you the example. If there's a Coke machine over in a hall, right? Coke machine only, and that Coke machine makes $100 a month. The marketing principle is, if you put a Pepsi machine next to it, most people think like, oh, okay, well then now each will get $50 each, right? Because you've just introduced major competition. There's Coke, there's Pepsi. But what actually happens, and you see this in many places, you can probably think of it in areas that you live, is when you put the Pepsi machine next to the Coke machine was making $100 a month. Pepsi machine is brand new. The next month, both machines make $200. Coke doubles and Pepsi goes to $200. Oh, wait a minute. I just lost. Hey, Eric. Is he gone? I just lost video. How did I lose video? Hold on, everybody. Eric, I lost video, man. Let me see if I can get this video back. I'll keep talking just for the sake. The video's out. Did that thing turn off or? Come on, baby. Stay with me, all of you. I'll be right there. Be right back with you. I don't know how to change the video. Oh, right here. Cam link. I can change it to this. There we are. You can see me this way. It's a weird angle, but let me know when that's up and running. I'll come back to it. So you put the Coke machine next to the Pepsi machine, and you've got $200 each a month that they make, right? That's the marketing principle, the idea. We good? We should be good? All right, let me check it back. Cam link. No, okay, we're good. We're back. If Venezuela prospers, it creates optionality in the region. It makes the region a destination, and DR is one of those options in that region. But what DR needs to do to capitalize on that, in my opinion, is continued movement on corruption. And this whole SANASA thing, let's see how that plays out. I see that as a bad thing, obviously, but let's call it an opportunity for this administration to crack down heavily and do some big things to say that is not acceptable and we can't have something like that ever happen again. So continued inroads on corruption, actually prioritizing education, which needs to happen. It needs to happen. And building out its infrastructure. Right now, the demand and the growth of everything is outpacing their ability to keep up with infrastructure, roads, bridges, everything. So Wi-Fi, electric, all of it, right? So they need to maintain consistent growth of infrastructure. If DR does all of those things, it's already gotten a leg up with Punta Cana, soon Punta Bergantin and Puerto Plata. I think there's going to be a major revitalization for that area. Cabo Rojo, Miches. I was just in Miches yesterday. That place is going to be insane. All of that, I think, makes the Venezuela rise a good thing for the region and therefore a good thing for DR. That's my take. Curious to hear what some of you think. I talked about Colombia. I talked about a few different things, and let me know what you think. Carlos asked, and this is a key question, what should the U.S.'s response be if China goes into Hong Kong now? I don't know. But I think that the narrative that this quote unquote gives permission to China to go take Hong Kong or Taiwan or whatever, I don't understand it. Because we've been doing this for 25 years, going in unilaterally to countries like Libya, like Venezuela, going into Pakistan and bombing people. We've been doing this, and China and other countries do what they do. And then Russia took and annexed Crimea and then went into Ukraine. Like they're going to do that. What is the US's response going to be? It would be some sort of proxy, I'm sure, to go after them. They would probably sanction them. They would probably double, triple the tariffs on them, so on and so forth. They would make it economically painful for China. But they don't have that leverage with China if they don't kick Maduro out of Venezuela. That's my take on it. I hear that topic and it's just like they do whatever they're going to do, right? And then the U.S. responds in the way that they did with Russia. Russia's only still, I think, going mostly because of oil and China. That's it. So if you allow BRICS to become the predominant currency, if you allow China to have influence all around the world, that to me is like, well, then you can't stop it at all. Like, do you want China coming in and ruling the world? I don't know. I don't. I'd be curious to hear what some of you think. Let's see what else we got here. Love the geopolitics talks. Fun. Hope you don't mind me playing devil's advocate to bring different points of views. Not at all, Junior. Let me hear him. I want different points of view. I have a rule on this channel. Challenge the thought, not the person. Whether it's each other, me, where I actually block people from the channel is when after one or two times, and I can see when I can see on my app, like I see a comment, I'm like, what is this person? Why is that's an aggressive comment? And I can look and see other comments and you can see the pattern. And I'm like, I'm done with this person. I just hide him from my channel. But where I get nuts is when people are like, oh, you are a piece of crap, you know, blah, 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 blah. And I see it between people. And when I see somebody attacking other people in the comments, I get rid of that as well. I see this as a community, folks. I had a conversation with who was supposed to be my guest today. He couldn't make it, but we don't see the world the same way. And we can debate that. But we were walking through Aguinaldo together right before Christmas, having a great time, having a drink. And still, we don't share every opinion. Mark Frazier was in this chair a couple of weeks ago, and the same thing. We don't. Oh, it popped off again, Eric. It's off. We don't see things the same way, but it is what it is. I'm going to switch over real quick while he fixes that. This comment here, Jose Manuel, AI chips as well for the rare earth minerals. Absolutely, 100%. Let's see. It's crazy how the MAGA garbage is filtered into Latin America. All of a sudden, people can't take a safe vaccine during a pandemic or believe basic science, facts, and observances. Raf, we're going to just disagree on this point. Again, love you. I love that you show up. I appreciate you showing up every week. I don't see the vaccine as safe, not even a little bit. I don't think it was the right move. I don't think it was, and I don't care if it was Trump who introduced it, Biden who pushed it out. I patently disagree that there was a safe vaccine during the pandemic. I didn't get vaccinated. My family didn't get vaccinated. My wife was the major decision maker on that. Like I was sort of indifferent, but my wife was like, no, we're not injecting ourselves with something that just came online so that, you know, we can see later what it might do. And there's a lot of science right now proving that some of the vaccines were harmful. And I know people with Guillain-Barré syndrome, if you've ever seen somebody suffer with Guillain-Barré, and then if you look into it more on this and you see that the US has a slush fund that allows them to pay people off for Guillain-Barré, and even more than that, if you look at the inability for people to sue vaccine manufacturers, we just disagree. We just see the world differently on that one. I still don't have that camera back, just so you know. China might use the Maduro incident to make their own move on Taiwan. We talked about that. I don't agree. Initially, Trujillo did so many good things for the country, from what I understand. I hear the same, Joseph, and this is where I go to Petro in Colombia. Like, he may not be this totalitarian leftist, whatever people want to label him as, Maduro yet, but when he's aligning with those folks, that scares me. Like, what's he going to become? I think most of the time. I just saw another comment that made me laugh. I think most of the time, you know, there's probably maybe good intentions coming in, but when you want to rule a people, you're going to have to take rights away from them, and that's what happens. Senor La Quisio, Bill Maher's heavy pot smoking has clouded his views a bit. I don't think so. I think he's like me. I like what he said. He goes, look, I've always been left, and then the left shifted on me. So now I'm considered centrist or right or whatever it might be. So I've always agreed with that. I'm like, man, I've always kind of been center right, always. But I'm getting further distance from the far left because it's gone so much further. Far right as well, but especially the far left because it tends to be a little bit louder, more protesters, more of that comes from the left, including people marching in Oregon about like free Maduro. It just blew my mind. Let's see what this says. People forget Trump is New Yorker through and through, not a career politician. When he speaks, it's like he's talking to the dudes in New York from the real estate and construction industry. I agree, but he chose to be the president. So if you're going to be the president of the United States, you need to honor that position and understand the influence that you have. You can't just lean on like, oh, I don't know, I just always talk like this. If he's as intelligent as he claims and everybody else does, then you have to know. You have to know when to do it. He does negotiate way better than people will ever give him credit for in this role. He creates like the Greenland thing. He throws stuff out there so crazy that we all clamor to it, and then he goes and does stuff over here. And he'll go 150 miles this way with a demand, knowing that he really wanted to settle at 75. You know, that he'll push it as far as he can to get as much as he can, knowing he won't get exactly what he asked for. It's smart negotiation, whether you like Trump or not. And there are people in this world and probably in this room watching this right now that just because they don't like Trump cannot stand to hear anything that might be remotely, not even positive, but just not negative about Trump. Let's see what else we got here. He does not speak kindly to Canada either. No, he doesn't. He does not. I agree with that. We're fixing our camera. We'll be back up here in a little bit. Let's see. Jobs report. Every industry lost jobs, but healthcare and hospitality services picked up the slack. Not a negative, but not a positive. What was the total, Senora? What was the total jobs added, and what was the percentage? I can look it up too here. Let me look real quick here. So jobs report. See what it says. I'm curious. 2025 worst year since 2020. Don't doubt that. Payrolls rose 50,000 in December, less than expected. That is an unemployment rate. Went to 4.4. That's slightly better than expected. Yeah. Meh. Right? Kind of a meh jobs report. Not a great year for jobs, for sure. If he spoke like a Clinton or Obama, it would be different. Unfortunately, he says what pops in his head. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. You want to try it? Let's see how we do here. Let me go here real quick. Cam link. It says, sin tarjeta en la cámara. Cámara. It's got a thing on it, Eric. It's got it says something on the screen. Sin tarjeta it doesn't have a card in it? Yeah. We don't need a card though. We're broadcasting live. This is live, folks. This is where we are. Latin America and the U.S. should stop using the U.S. political spectrum. Check out how the world works and what we can use to improve our nations. The MAGA brain rot is crazy to watch. I think the leftist brain rot is crazy to watch. I think both are. This statement has a lot of contradictions in it. It says we should stop analyzing things on the U.S. political spectrum, but this part of the political spectrum is crazy to watch. We're going to come back. He's just changing out something real quick, guys. Here, I'll change back to this. So I do agree with a point here, though. And that point is that how politics in DR, it's still stuff on camera, are organized. I still see the numbers at the top and the little square in the middle, the what's it called? The whatever it is. That brought up a graph. There, almost. Yes. There's still a little square in the middle. Nope. Now we got a bunch of numbers on screen. Back to that. I'll deal with the square if I need to. You got to turn off a few things. Oh, it went off for a second. No. It's about as good as we're going to get right now. I look like I'm a freaking, like an X-Man. I got like this thing on my eye. That's cool. Anyway, he's unplugged and plugged it back in. Let me go back to this until you're ready. So my thought on this from an agreement standpoint is the DR politics are organized top and bottom, not left and right. And I like that, meaning government is government. And the people are the people. And the people are aligned with one another, that they don't trust the government. And I like that mindset. I'd rather a populace, they can have disagreements on different policies or whatever, but on the policy itself. But from a standpoint of their interaction with their government, they say, I don't trust that. I need that to serve me better. But we don't sit left and right. And when I think about culture here, presidential debate in 2024, I think it was, between the three candidates here, Abinader, Fernandez, and the other guy. There were questions about like immigration, and they were like, yeah, no, we can't have it. Like they all agreed, right? There were questions about certain things where they're like, yeah, of course. So that kind of, I'll call it like a Christian conservative value that is here, permeates everything, every human being, whether you're in politics or not. But then it's organized with, these are the politicians, these are the people, and the people are aligned that that, we need these people to do better. Whereas in the US, it's like, I need the left to change. I need the right to change. I need the other side to do something different. And we align under a political figure. It drives me up a wall. I don't get it. All right. Let's see what this says. They are started to free political prisoners. Where's Mabel? There's so much going on worldwide and it's become so overwhelming. So I've reduced the amount of news I catch up with while I get my mind restored in some sense of the world, some sense of the word. I like that, Mabel. I agree with you on that. On that point, let's talk about affordability in the United States. You want me to try it one more time? Let's see, Cam Link. Yeah, we're good. Perfecto. We're back. All right. So if you haven't seen, Trump introduced a bill that essentially is saying, hey, we want to kick out the BlackRocks of the world from buying single family homes. I'm sure I'm bastardizing that, but let me see what you all think about that. But that is the overriding thought on what the new law is, or what the proposed law is. Here's my take on this. I think this is more political theater than actual policy that does anything. The idea is, hey, if these big conglomerates, if this institutional money isn't buying up through intermediaries, buying up all the single family homes, then there's more supply and there's more affordability. It sounds nice. Here's the reality, and these are real numbers. About 40% of US households have no mortgage. None. 60% only. 6 out of 10 people have a mortgage. Feels like everybody has a mortgage, right? 6 out of 10. Look this up, fact check me. 4 out of 10 homes don't have a mortgage. Of those with a mortgage, more than 50%, somewhere between 50 and 60% of the people with a mortgage, their mortgage sits below 4% interest. It's just an amazing asset, that kind of debt. And then on top of that, when you look at the amount of equity that people have in their property, like when I sold my property, I think I was sitting at like a 60% equity in the property I owned in Michigan. Like values have gone up. Debt has come down, especially post 08. So there's not a need to sell like there was in the past. The bigger number is, I'm curious if you all know this, Blackstone and these institutions, what percentage of US homes do they own? Somebody's got to answer that for me. What percentage of US homes? So Trump is targeting big institutions not being able to buy up houses, single family houses, in the way that they are in the United States to improve affordability, because we're all told that they're buying up all the U.S. housing stock. What percentage does BlackRock and all of the companies like it own of U.S. single family homes? What percentage? I want to hear what you guys think. Drop it down below. Let's see what else we got here. Never trust the government. From a guy named Skeptical. I completely agree with you. From a guy named Skeptical. I'm in the crosshairs. I know. I think the box is over here now, but that's okay. It's over there. It's out of the way. We'll leave that alone. Here we go. Nailed it. Doug, good to see you. 4%. 4% of U.S. homes. Guys, this is where we got to be careful what we hear from the media. 4%. If I say it's political theater, because unless that number is poised to maybe quadruple in the next year, which it's not, institutions don't own the U.S. housing market. Now, Phoenix, I think Dallas, some other markets, institutions own, what did I say? Did I say something else other than BlackRock? Blackstone? BlackRock. Sorry, whatever it is. BlackRock. I might have said it the wrong way. If in places like that, Phoenix and Dallas and so on, institutions do own a larger percentage, I've heard up to 25%. I've read up to 25% of a specific market. So might it have impact in those submarkets? Maybe. Absolutely. I mean, that might be real. But when we look about the federal government intervening in this, it doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me. So this is just simply political theater. What the U.S. struggles with right now is supply. Now, demand has also come down because pricing has gone up, and they're trying to fix that by extending amortization, 40, 50-year mortgages, if you haven't seen this. But all that's going to do is create, more debt, but that's how people buy. They buy and how much can they afford? But when you've got not enough supply, demand will come back, but you don't have enough new housing coming online to the tune of about 5 million residences that are needed in the United States. And you have people sitting on less than 4% debt. And some people, 40% of the population doesn't have any debt at all, and they have no real need to sell. They can do what people do here. They can sit on their house and say, I want $800,000 for it. And then if I don't get it, whatever, I'm going to wait till I do. They can sit on it. We don't have the same debt crisis that we had years and years ago. to me, what this means is, again, it looks really nice. It sounds really good. It's all about, I say, look at comments and my mind goes all over the place. It's all about sounding good to the American population. A politician, which Trump is, saying, I'm going to fix affordability by doing this. People are like, yeah, kick out the big banks. We don't like those big banks. But again, it's only going to help a few markets. And maybe it reduces ownership to 3% nationally, right? Like, feels like more of a state issue in that regard. Like, figure that out locally for you. But there needs to be more supply brought online. For me, when people talk about a housing crash in the U.S., I just don't see it overall. There's going to be markets, and there are markets that have seen crashes. Jacksonville is one. Austin is one. Have seen major corrections, 20, 30, 40% of value. But the difference this time is people have low interest, long-term debt. The value is on paper. It's not forcing them out of their home. They don't have, like in '08, short-term interest-free interest-only financing that's going to now stack on principal after 3 years, and then they can't sell it because they need to, because they can't afford the payment anymore. Like, that was the '08 crisis. It was a mess. I had friends that short-sailed their homes because, or got foreclosed on because that's what they did. They bought something, they got into it for interest-only debt, and then they couldn't get out of it because the market went down. So in certain markets, that's happening for sure. But I don't see fundamentally a collapse in the market there. The jobs report today is interesting to me. We'll see what that all means. But if the fundamentals of the economy in the U.S. stay as they are, two things happen for the DR from a real estate perspective. One, mid-tier lower buyers are scared because they want to hold their money, and they should. High-end buyers diversify and buy outside of the country. That's it. I did a segment on this recently around buying for lifestyle. Those are luxury buyers. Buying for cash flow. Those are people that are like, well, if I buy it, I got to make a return. The luxury buyer is going to buy for lifestyle. I just met a guy last night. If he's watching, hello, I gotta message him back. Really interesting dude who lives here part of the year in Cap Cana. Interesting guy, family guy. It's a family dynamic. He moved here in part for the year in order to capture the essence of the culture here and everything, right? Like, you're seeing more and more of that. People building in Casa de Campo, people building a Punta Cana resort, in Cap Cana, in Cabrera, in areas that are luxury. So this market goes up market. If you own here now at any price point in a legitimate community or in a legitimate building, then likely your prices go up in DR. My speculation. Let's hear what some of you think on that. George, you said people need to familiarize themselves with the Monroe Doctrine. Tell us, give us some more on that. Let's see. Skeptical says, I hate BlackRock, but free market is best. No government involved. Skeptical, that's another point I'll make. I don't care who the president is, if you love him or hate him. When government does something, it creates a ripple effect. And one of the ripples is unpopular, and then they try to do something here, and then that ripple, and they try to do something here. It is when the government needs to stay out of it. That's why I say center right. I'm a big proponent of stay the hell out of the market. Stay out of it. '08, I said the bank should have crashed. We should have felt that for a year. It should have been pandemonium for a year. It should have been an absolute bloodbath for a year or two. It would have been if we let all these banks crash. But the free market should have worked on the downside just like it worked on the upside. We should not have protected those banks. That's my take. I said it then. I say it now. I can't give you a person to prove that I said it then, but I did 15, 16, 17 years ago. And people hated me for it. Like, what are you, crazy? You know what would have happened? Like, fully aware. It would have been painful, but it would have been the right thing long term because now we see what's happening. What else we got? BlackRock owns a very small percentage of U.S. homes with estimates around 0.08% or less. Institutional investors as a whole own a modest share of single-family rentals, around 3 to 4% nationally. There you go. We got fact checked. I love it. So we got that down. Let's see what else we have up here. That was an educated guess. In some markets, ownership is up to 25%. Yeah, exactly right. There you go, Doug. So we talked about that. In my opinion, we are in a recession globally. I don't know how recessions are often defined by like 2 negative quarters of GDP growth, and I don't think we've seen that. I think, if I'm not wrong, Q3 GDP growth was like 5% in the US or something crazy like that. But I don't agree. I think we are here skeptical. Here's what I might say. If you define a recession as how people feel, I agree. People feel like we're in a recession. I can go back to podcasts I did in 2020, 2021, 2019, and all we talked about was the upcoming recession that hasn't come. We're not in one yet. Doesn't mean we won't be in the future, but we're not in one at this point, in my opinion. But here we are. So to me, it's like, if you look at the fundamentals of where things are, people talk about this market crashing. It's like, there's no fundamental reason this market's going to crash. No fundamental reason. There are black swan events. There are, world events like the Venezuela thing that could absolutely impact markets in the DR anywhere. But fundamentally, we don't have a debt crisis in DR. We don't have a speculative speculative issue in DR. There's not these fundamentals that lead to a real estate crash. We don't have, at this point, a whole bunch of scams that have been proven. There's one big one, Operation Cheetah, that is alleged to be the Navasco real estate scam. But everything else people talk about as scams is usually something they didn't like. Maybe it's a breach of contract. Maybe it's a delayed delivery date. And they use the word scam to define it, but it's not real. It's not real. So a market can crash for many reasons, but there's no fundamental for this market to crash. And right now, there's no fundamental for the U.S. market to crash. There is drying up demand in certain markets, but the overall market, I don't see a fundamental where it crashes. Could be wrong. With a 2.25% mortgage, I'm in a sweet spot, not selling, not even for DR. I don't blame you. It was a struggle for us to sell our 2.9% mortgage in Michigan. Only reason we did was two reasons. We were ready to say we're staying here long term. But even then, I was like, let's find a way to keep that and buy here, maybe just modify what we're going to buy. But the bigger reason was if we didn't sell when we sold, we would be exposed to cap gains because it was our primary residence. You don't have to pay cap gains on your primary residence up to $500,000 for a couple, as long as you live in the house 3 out of 5 years. We had been out of the house 3 out of 5 years at that point, right? So 2 out of 5 years. You have to live in the house 2 out of 5. And we had been out of the house just about 3. So we were like, well, if we keep it, we're going to have cap gains plus repairs, needs a driveway, it's going to need a roof. We're going to have to recoup like 20% more value if we keep it long term. And we didn't want to do that because we wanted to build our life here. So that was why we sold it. Otherwise, it was hard to sell for that mortgage. So I'm with you on that. There are 2 classes, those with money and everyone else. Yes. And this might be hot take and maybe a radical opinion for some, but I think you actually see in DR, I think you see a real middle class. It doesn't feel like what a middle class would be defined as in the United States, but there's a middle class here. I'm sitting in front of a guy that I would define as middle class. There's a real middle class here. There's really not in the US. I do agree with that. Middle class is really like, like a 6-figure earner. And that's not how it's always been. 2, yes, about the oil. Oh, wait, what was the 1? I saw somebody say I have a few points. It was George. Where was the 1? I missed, no. A couple of points from Javier. We got different people. And then 1 from Esteban. I don't know what's going on here. Everybody's making points. 2, yes, it's about the oil. Everyone in their right minds relies on electricity. But if you complete payments, do it fast in the U.S. But for new home buyers, the market is getting crazier. Well, the market's expensive, 100%. 100%. If you're a young person coming out of college or in your early 20s, late 20s, early 30s today, much harder to buy. 100%. However, there is affordable places, but just people don't want to go to them. I'll say that. So here we go. Payrolls came in at 50,000, expected 73, unemployment 4.4. I believe it was expected to be 4.5. So yeah, that's not a very positive jobs report. It's a middle of the road to not good. Let's see what else we got here. Why doesn't he go remove Putin or Kim? They are not in the Western Hemisphere, and they are not, this wasn't a goodwill thing. Removing Putin and Kim is like, let's free those people. It's not why he went in there. He went for the oil. He did go in part for narco-terrorism. That's real. I think those boats that he blew up, whether we prove it or not, I think they were blown up with drugs on them. But that is just Putin and Kim. That's not a comparison. Not a comparison for somebody in your region that is allowing powers like China to set up shop in your own backyard. That's just not an equivalent. We need a class to manage those cameras. No, it's good. We're good. Somebody said that. You're dropping stuff, man. I freak you out?
Yeah.
Nah, you're good. It's good. It's good. We're good. All right, let's see what we got here. Milentry says your videos are amazing. I'm going to bring it back to that for a second. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, let's talk last about, oh wait, I had another topic. What was my third topic? I forgot what I said. Hold on. We're going to find it real quick. So we talked, Abinader, this is a quick one. So Abinader announced recently that is replacing cabinet positions. I believe this is in the wake of Sanasa. He went in, he chose a few different spots, and he got rid of leaders of certain cabinets. He's putting different people in. He is, I think, in the best way he possibly can think of, at least, trying to show that he is cleaning things up in the wake of what we saw, the 15 billion pesos, maybe it's more now, I don't even know, that have been stolen, allegedly, with Sanasa. I say alleged, it's just the right thing for me to do. his changes, I don't know enough about the not the candidates, but the appointments. I don't know who they are. I'm not sure what they do, but the changes are really, really interesting. So we'll see what all comes of that. Here's what I'll say, and I'm going to make a plug for my inner circle right now. I actually got outreach from the U.S. ambassador to the Dominican Republic to have a conversation. It's amazing what these platforms do. And I went to the inner circle and I said, hey, if you were to sit down with the ambassador or if you were to give me advice on what to talk about, what would it be? And I'm really interested, if and when this happens, what exactly what her scope is, what she's looking for, and what I might be able to add value to from her perspective to the benefit of the Dominican Republic. We'll see what happens with that. If you're not part of the inner circle, join. These are the conversations we're having, folks. These are the kinds of interactions. There's private content, exclusive content, and things like this. But here's my point. I'm really, really curious to see, with the removal of certain cabinet positions, with the Sanasa scandal, and then this looming meeting that I might have here, all of these things, like, what does it mean in the next year? Like, where are we in 12 months? Do we believe that there is any different response to Sanasa than there has been to other scandals in the past? Most notably, Odebrecht. We all know what happened with that. I think we do anyway. We know that there wasn't really any punishment for the actors in that, allegedly. But I'd be curious to see what happens when it comes to all of these appointments. And then now that there is an ambassador here, there hadn't been under the Biden administration. There was not an ambassador. There's a French term for the person that was in place, but not a full-on U.S. ambassador. But now you have one. She's Latin American. She's former CIA. That scares me when an ambassador who's former CIA reaches out to you. You're like, am I on some radar? But I'm curious to see what the next diplomatic move is for DR in relation to the U.S. and what that does for the betterment of the country overall, for the poorest to the richest citizens, for the expat to the lifetime Dominican person, all of that. I'm really curious to see what happens with that. The last topic I want to talk about is Minnesota. But before I do, I want to say this. This guy over here who you can't see right now, Eric, you want to wave your hand in front of the camera so they see that you're not you're a real person? There he is. That's him. This guy just got his visa. Okay if I share that?
Yeah.
I just did. So he just got his visa. This never, ever, ever left the Dominican Republic. In fact, when we went to Santiago, it was your first time there.
Yes.
Right? So I got to introduce him to Santiago. It was just kind of fun. It was an amazing time. We stayed at Camp David. His family came. We went and hung out. Our kids and wives went and did the mariposa. What was it called? The butterfly thing.
Yes.
What was it? Whatever it was.
The national park.
Yeah. It was cool, right? But he just got his visa. He and I likely next week are headed to Boston for the first time for him ever out of jet, Santo Domingo to Boston. We're going to take that flight, right? I hope. I have to get confirmation from the guy still. But we're going to take that flight. I want to review out of jet, but I also I'm really excited to document his first time on a plane and then his first time in the United States. And I love that a Dominican dude that's never left the country is going to Boston in January. Did you ever see Cool Runnings? You ever see the movie Cool Runnings? The Jamaican bobsled team. Did you ever see that?
Yeah.
Where they come out of the airport in Canada for the first time and their dreads are frozen. You don't have dreads, but that's what I picture happening when we go up to Boston with this guy, which is amazing. I can't wait to see what it's like. And then you got to try things, man. You got to try chowder. You got to try oysters. You got to try all the things, lobster rolls, all the things that Boston is known for. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But back to the Inner Circle for a moment. We're doing an Inner Circle meetup. I have to confirm the dates. As soon as it's confirmed, the Inner Circle is already where we're doing an Inner Circle meetup while I'm in Boston to get together. I don't know where it'll be, Lawrence, Lynn, or Boston, one of the three. But it'll be a lot of fun to see. Yeah, Jose, he going to freeze his butt off, somebody said. Here's how you can thaw him. Come to Jeffers Studios when you're down here in Punta Cana. Get your photos done. Get some family photos done, or do whatever. Boston's weather is cold. Cold weather is cutting. Senor, we lived in the Seaport District, which is like wind. So it was like 20 degrees colder. It always felt like being in the Seaport, which was crazy. So yeah, so it'll be fun to get him up there, and we'll do a whole video thing on it. It'll be sort of 3 different things happening, like how was How to Jet as a flight compared to the stories that you hear. I'll do a full review on that. What's it like for him being a first time out of the country, a Dominican guy, first time he's ever left the country, and then we'll share some stories from the inner circle on the video. But it'll be fun to meet up with all those folks. But yeah, if you want to check it out, jamiegruber.com. It's an amazing community. Our biggest problem right now is trying to manage the level of engagement. It is so high. People are all over the WhatsApp communities and everything, so I'd love for you to be a part of it. Love to be for you to be a part of it. Here's a big question, Admiral Reefer. How do you feel about Jaguars over Bills? I'll tell you, I wouldn't. It's the playoffs. Can't be surprised by anything. I believe that if there's ever a chance for the Bills to do something is this year. Josh Allen's the only quarterback in the playoffs. Like really, like veteran, proven, been there. Only one in the AFC playoffs, I should say. It's the only one. All these other guys are new to the party. So I expect that they win, but I would not be surprised if they lose, obviously. But I think they can go on a run. But I'm nervous. I love it right here. Go Bills. Go Bills. I'll answer one of these questions. We went to Scotiabank and they denied us for a mortgage because we have 2 mortgages in the U.S. and they only use 35% of my income to debt ratio. SUV27, I did a whole video on this. I had the same exact issue with I didn't say it in the video. I'll say it here for you guys live. It was Scotia. Scotia was approving me, and then they didn't approve me. Then they changed the terms, and they did all these things. Great people there. I love the guy I dealt with. He's a nice guy. He's dealing with the underwriting department, but Scotia definitely was very difficult to deal with. I went to a mortgage broker. It'll cost you some money, like 1 to 2% of the mortgage. But if you go to jamiegruber.com/referrals, I'll put that here. And come on. I'll put it here. If you go there, all of my referral partners are there. Realtors, attorney, mortgage broker. Reach out to them. Send them everything you need. I'll in the video, I shared this. I was 60 days in with Scotia, and we thought we were good. And then it became like, we're only going to use 10% of your income or 20% or whatever. And then we need you to do this. We need you to pay more. We're going to increase the rate. We're only going to go 20 years versus 25. All these things started changing. And then like what I thought was 11th hour, I engaged this mortgage broker and they brought me a bank called JMMB. And again, I can't say go to JMMB because they positioned me with JMMB, my credit rating, this, that, like they showed them the pathway to the best possible version of my situation. And we got a loan within 45 days. I mean, we closed within 45 days, right? We got the loan, we sat at the table, we signed the documents within 45 days in DR. That is amazing. Check them out. Go to jamiegruber.com/referrals and see what they have to do with it. So that is my thought on that. All right, trying to reply to at baby mango learning. We'll do extended vacay soon. Sure, I don't know if I know who that is, but jamiegruber.com regular takes you to the inner circle /referrals does the rest. Last topic, maybe it's not the last topic. We'll see. If you guys have some topics you want to talk about, I'm good. I'm here. I can go another 30, 40 minutes if you want to, as long as you need to. I'm like a jukebox today. Just wind me up. I'll keep rolling, or put a coin in. My last topic is, I don't think we can ignore it, is what's happened in Minnesota with the young lady that was killed by an ICE agent when she protested their presence in Minnesota, if you will. As it relates to Dominican Republic, this is an example of the division that I talk about in the U.S. that is hard to see, even though you see it when you live in the U.S. and becomes abundantly clear when you live abroad. When you talk to people that have lived here forever, like an Eric or anybody else, like it's mind blowing to see not only the incident, which I'll talk about it because I opened the can, I'll give you my thoughts on it, but to see I don't know how the loss of a human life and how the loss of a human life and the tragedy of that can be almost equaled by the post-tragic rhetoric from both sides. I don't know how that's possible. But it's almost happened. The seriousness of a human life lost is almost matched by the seriousness of what is being said by both sides after this, namely Trump, but the other side as well. Here's my take. This young lady was 37 years old, and I'm getting a little like emotional because like she had 3 kids. I don't care how good of a mother or whatever. I have no idea. She had 3 kids, 2 with a prior marriage that I've read. One that was 5 years old with another man, and that man already had passed. So there's a 5-year-old in Minnesota today that's an orphan. And I think 2 things right away. This is my take on it. Controversial as it may be. Lady, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? You're a mom to kids. You've got a strong position against this organization, and I respect it. That's fine. You can feel that way. But unless I'm wrong, and I don't think I am, she has positioned her vehicle sideways in the roadway to block ICE officials in the middle of what looked like an absolute pandemonium chaos of these guys, these ICE officials having snowballs thrown at them and like a crowd just descending on them. There is humanity in all of this, right? We can, and we will talk about the ICE agents' actions, but as a mom of kids who wants to protect her neighbors, I'm going to go with that. She wanted to protect her neighbors, and that's noble, and I applaud that. For you to block these officials when they are human beings themselves under duress, you don't have to like them, but they are human beings. Those are not AI out there. They're already under duress. They're following out orders, albeit in many cases, or in some cases, or at least the cases we see in the media, potentially overreaching on those orders, allegedly. Again, I got to say it. Why are you there? And then when this person orders you out of the car, what are you doing? The people that defend her actions would say, have you ever been in a situation like that? You panic. Like, yeah, but it's happened to me. I didn't put myself in the situation. Somebody comes up from behind a door and scares me, I jump. But if I saw them before I moved over there, knowing they're going to jump out, I'm not going to jump. That makes sense? I'm probably not going to jump. I'm not going to, because I saw it. I placed there they are, right? I get it. You put yourself in that situation as a mom. I still have sympathy for you. I don't think she should have lost her life. I don't. Then there's the question of, well, was she going after the officer or not? I'll be honest with you guys. I don't think she was. I really don't. I don't see that. She's just trying to get out of there. But that just trying to get out of there, you're putting a person, this ICE officer, under duress, all this tension, this chaos around him, in a position to make a decision on your life. He's got his gun drawn, or maybe he drew it. I don't know. He's got his gun drawn. He steps in front of the vehicle, and then you start accelerating. He's got a second to make a decision. And the standard for an officer that I understand, if there are police out there, please correct me. The standard for an officer is it reasonable to assume that he or somebody else can be injured or hurt by this person's actions? Watching the video, like it's like when you watch a ref blow a call on the NFL field. I don't mean the equivalent life lost step, but meaning like you have the benefit of slow-mo and turn it and da-da-da-da, like split second, right? It just happens so fast and we're dissecting it, multiple camera angles and everything. I think the guy didn't need to shoot her. I really do. I don't believe it was necessary to use force. I also am not there. I'm not part of this situation, right? I don't think he was trying to run her down, but how does he know that in that moment, really? But the other part of that I think about from the officer's perspective is, let's say she speeds away under one of two conditions. She's either defiant, which her actions before, maybe it was defiance, or she's scared. She placed herself in that position, though, to panic. If a woman behind the wheel of a car is driving away, and people say peeling out. She wasn't, I don't see her peeling out. I didn't see that. I don't characterize it as peeling out, but they're ordering her out. She backs up and goes. She's either panicked or angry, either way in a heightened emotional state amidst a crowd of people in a suburban neighborhood. If she hits somebody 20 feet up the road, what do we say to the officer then? That's my issue. This is a tragedy on every level. It didn't need to happen. There's culpability all the way around. I don't know if I have a blame that I can place, like it's them. I just see like it didn't have to happen. And so what they say in my time used to say, what a waste. I always thought that sounded so like, ooh, what a waste. That sounds like, what a waste of a person, but like, what a waste. You know what I mean? It's a mom, a 37-year-old woman. When she was a kid, if you told her when you're 37, you're going to get so amped up that you're going to protest at a police rally, or not a police rally, whatever. So I'll call it a police event, and your life will end that day by gunfire. I bet you the 8-year-old version will be like, why would I ever do that? Right? Like, I don't have blame. I just think it's a waste. And as a dad, man, like to watch this kid have to grow up without a mom or a dad now. Just what a waste. Super sad, super scary. And it's the unfortunate height of what we see politically in the U.S. Let's be clear. It's newsworthy because this doesn't happen all the time. People want to make it sound like it does. It doesn't. Not that. But the divisiveness that leads to that is happening every single day. It's festering beneath the surface like it's a ticking time bomb right now in my home country, in the country I love. I love the United States. I am here because I can use a U.S. passport to be here. There's so much benefit to me being a U.S. citizen. I am one of those guys who thanks every military veteran, no matter if they were serving meals at a base in Germany or in combat. The fact that they sought to put themselves in a position to defend our country, the United States, is amazing. I see the same thing here. I've tried to buy somebody's lunch that's a national police here, but the language, never mind. But like again, I'm national police. I'm sorry, military. I saw military personnel at Nacional the other day. These two soldiers, and I was like, oh, I want to buy them their lunch. And then I fumbled, whatever. But you get my point. Like anybody that puts themselves in harm's way, I'm a huge fan of, and I'm in awe of you. I'm a big fan of yours. This was a waste. It didn't need to happen. My belief, from a legal perspective, I don't think the cop is prosecuted. And I don't know if I agree with that or not. Honestly, I don't know how I feel about it. But in that situation, I mean, this is where the rhetoric afterward, like, thank God that officer, surprised he's alive. Like, what do you mean, man? He stepped out of the way. He might have gotten nudged by the mirror. Come on. I know. I heard he went to the hospital. I don't want that to happen to him either. That's a guy who took a job. He's a family man. But I do think that if you're going to be a person that takes that job, you got to know what to do in a heightened situation like that. And pulling the trigger to me wasn't the right move. But from a legal perspective, I don't know that there's enough there to say he acted unreasonably given the standard there. When a vehicle is coming at you, you have a decision to make, and you are allowed as a law enforcement official, my understanding of it, to use deadly force. Crazy. Miguel, thank you for this. That's very kind of you. Thanks for visiting my city, Santiago. You're very welcome. We're going to talk about that last. I want to end this on a high note. Junior says, ICE guidelines say, 1, never shoot in a moving vehicle. 2, don't put yourself in front of a vehicle. Didn't know that. If that's true, then I'd have to recant what I just said, to be honest with you. What is your opinion on Zionist influence on the U.S. government and how that affects the rest of the world and geopolitics? It's a deeper topic than I want to get into today. I think we've gone deep enough. There's a lot there. I do have opinions, but there's a lot there. Jamie, on the right side of the issue, I don't know. I'm on my side of the issue. I don't know if it's the right side or not, but we'll get into Santiago here in a second. You can control your actions, not others' actions. Don't put yourself in those situations. Justin, that's what I'm trying to say. Somebody said to me, like, well, hey, if you get your neighbors are being attacked, wouldn't you want to stand up? I'm like, yeah, but I don't think I'd put myself in that situation, right? I'm not her. I don't know. Maybe she's stronger than me. I don't know. But what a waste. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. I disagree with you. The woman that lived at that house, the women lived at that house. They told her to move her car. You can hear in another bystander video that broke the law when they put their hands inside the vehicle. If that's true, again, I'm telling you what I've heard. My understanding was she was blocking ICE. She was there to make a point. I could be wrong. If she was simply backing out of her driveway and they drew down on her, that's a different version than I've heard. Javier, yeah. God help us all. 100%. What is this one? No excuses at all for MAGA. We're going to get off of that. The MAGA thing, Raph, you're all over it. I'm trying to click on something that's not that. There you go. U.S. is phenomenal, but we'll leave it there, senor. I like it. All right, let's talk about Santiago, guys. I went out to Santiago with Eric. Poof. We filmed the hell out of that city. 2 days, 3 days worth of filming?
3 days.
3 days worth of filming all over the city. Bermuda's brought us everywhere. Let me give you a little bit of skinny. So there was a scene in the first 5 minutes or so, if you saw the video, that was filmed in the bathroom. There's a whole theme. By the way, I got to give, if he's watching, I got to give kudos to my editor, Dan. Let me tell you how this works, right? Imagine this. I get 30 hours of footage back from Eric. So he uploads it, and I get 30 hours of footage back, which was a lot. And then, is there something on my face? There is. There's like I got like a bead on my face. Move over here. Well, if I do this. Hey, oh, now it's back. Nah, you just lost it. It's okay. Just leave it. It's fine. But there we go. It's fine. So 30 hours of footage he sends me. Then I go through it and categorize it, right? Like, okay, this was, plus, by the way, we filmed a full interview with David for Grub with Gruber at Camp David. So we've got that whole thing as well. So that was easy. Like separate that out. That's Grub with Gruber. But everything else we take and we categorize it. Me and my editor, we put it together into different folders. Like, okay, this was, most expensive house footage. Not only the video of me, but the B-roll and all of the things that go with it. This was the least expensive house, the middle expensive house. This was Agora Mall, which we toured. This was whatever else we looked at. I can't even remember what's in that video at this point. Oh, the monument. This is the monorail. This is the airport. And we had multiple angles, multiple videos. He had B-roll that he filmed. So we just load up these folders with this stuff. And then I go to my editor and I have a conversation with him. And I'm like, look, here's what I want to do with this video. I want to tell this story. I want it to be like between 20 and 30 minutes. And I need you to leave me some space for voiceover because I want to make sure I voice over to tell the story a little bit throughout the video. And I said, here's a theme, 2 themes. One is luxury. So I want to make sure the music epitomizes luxury. There were some jokes I made in the video that were just like below the level of luxury, if that makes sense. They were funny, or really funny, but they were below the level of luxury. So I said, we had to cut that out. Make sure the music's not like a hip hop vibe, but more of like a luxe vibe, camera angles, color saturation, vibrance, all of that we talk about. Right. And he puts this video together. He sends me after a few weeks, like he distills it down to this package. One thing I said to him though, is I said, there is one funny theme. Cause when I think about how to create a video for all of you, I've got to think about initial hook. Does it match what the video is said it's about? Meaning like, if I said this is the title and this is the thumbnail, does the hook, the beginning of the video match all of that? So that's got to be great. And then we have to rehook you throughout the video, meaning I have to have moments throughout the video that you want to stick around for. So one of those moments, a few times I hooked you on infrastructure. So I left that for the end. It was like, well, wait till you see the monorail, wait till you see this. Then we were going to go see a luxury house. But first we stopped here at the furniture store, like that kind of stuff, right? So rehooking you throughout. But then like a theme people could latch onto, something that we could have engagement with. And that was the bathrooms. Because it was just funny to me that David Bermudez goes, oh, you got to see the bathroom at the mall. And I was like, authentically, if you saw it in the video, like, remember that? Oh, we're going to see you remember this? Yeah, you're looking at me weird. You see, we're going to go to a bathroom. And then like 40 minutes later, we're at his brother-in-law's furniture store. And without warning, he's like, let me show you one more thing. Let me show you what's in the bathroom. And you see in the video, like, whoa, what is wrong with this family? Right? And this is the Bermudez family, right? Like people from Santiago know this isn't like some local family. That's all they are. They're a pretty prominent family. So we did that. You'll see throughout the video where it pops up, he puts text up, and we kind of keep the bathroom theme in there. That was the lowest level of humor I wanted for a luxury video. So we did all of that. But there was a scene in the beginning where we're in the bathroom at the mall, and he's talking and pointing, David, at something. And people have said, like, hey, man, like you got to do better with video. Like you didn't show that part. We did. Problem is somebody in the bathroom was in the mirror. So I had 2 choices. It was like, okay, we've had this video for 3-4 weeks. I got to get this thing out, right? We got to get this thing going. Do we hire somebody to go back up and take B-roll with the right camera so that it matches all the other camera angles and other camera quality of the bathroom? Or do I release the damn video? And I decided I'm going to release the video. In my opinion, not seeing the mirror in the bathroom that David was talking about it was overshadowed by the amount of value that I think was involved in the video. So like little decisions like that we did. Now, what we didn't do while there, and we had ambitions to do it all, we really did. We were trying so hard to do it, was get to 2 things. One was the Zona Franca, the industrial parks, to the cigar bar that you see in the first part of it when we're inside of that cigar bar restaurant. Somebody will remember the name of the place. It's like a luxury cigar manufactured in Santiago. So one, we didn't get to the duty-free zone, the industrial center, the logistics hub to see that. I want to see that on another trip to Santiago. David and I have already talked. He was, before I release a video, I send it to them and say, hey guys, you're in this. I want you to see it. Anything that you don't like, they gave me a couple little notes that they're like, oh, could you just, and we did that. Right. So always there's that part of it too. But he's like, hey, if you want to come back, I see people asking for part 2. I'm like, I've always wanted to do a part 2. That's one of them. The other part I want to go to is medical tourism. Holmes Hospital and all the other ones, because there's hotels attached to the hospitals there. There's a whole industry there that is huge. There is major technological advancements medically happening in Santiago that is just next level. In fact, I have a family member who I've actually talked to about potentially having a surgery in Santiago from the US because of an advancement and a doctor that's doing something really, really cutting edge in Santiago. So those are the other types of videos. The part 4, if you will, might be more of an affordable living video. Like this was Lux. Let's go look at like what's $800 a month. What's $200,000. What does that look like in Santiago? So I could show that part of the city as well. Livability and nightlife, like not like party nightlife, but like restaurant vibe, what neighborhoods to go to for, a Friday night out, that kind of stuff. So I've got a lot of stuff I can do in Santiago. Fuente. Thank you, Pablo. Fuente was the name of the cigar place. I'm excited to go back there. I wrote a newsletter today. That's going to come out at 5:30 today. As you're watching, if you're watching on replay, 5:30 Friday, you can still do this. JamieGruber.com/newsletter. I'll pop it up here. There you go. To subscribe. It's on my Instagram stories as well if you want to go there. But it was how Santiago changed how I think about Dominican Republic. And I think it's a pretty good article. It really talks about the things that I saw there and how it repositioned Santiago for me. And to be clear, people are like, finally you visit. Like, no, I've been to Santiago many times. In fact, I hosted a charity mixer like 2 years ago at NOAA downtown, which was great. A lot of people met there and still stay in connection with one another to this day. Love Santiago, but I never got a good vibe. Not like evil or bad or like dirt, like clean city, nice, but like it's all right. There's no beach nearby. Not that I'm a big beach guy, but like from a real estate perspective, I don't see how that's going to really work here without a beach, a prominent beach nearby. And two, I don't get the feel that I could live here. It just feels very like blah. So this tour was David saying, let me show you that it's not blah. Let me show you everything. And it was really, really good. It was really, really good. So that was the whole thing in this tour and what I got out of it. So if you want to check out the newsletter, jamiegruber.com/newsletter, come out today at 5:30 Eastern in your inboxes after you register. Or if you're already a part of the Gruber Nation newsletter, I appreciate you. All right. Questions you might have. We'll spend a few minutes on that and then I'll get you all out of here. I promise. Somebody said after I did one of these for 2 hours, like, damn, Jamie, you made a movie. But this is fun stuff to talk about. So let me know. I shouldn't say fun because some of the topics are very heavy. This is interesting stuff to talk about. And the Santiago thing is where I was thinking about the fun part. Let me know what questions you have so that we can dive into that. Let's see what else we got here. Raf, here we go. So sorry to sound far left, but I like what is going on in DR. DR and economy is growing with that decreased corruption and help the money filter to working class Dominicans. Raf, I don't sound far left, man. I don't care. I mean, I want you to represent your position. I mean, this is me. My channel, whatever. I don't like the nicknames for Trump or nicknames for MAGA or brain rot or whatever, because it's like, understand that as passionately and fervently as you feel about what you feel, as smart as you are, as much as you look at this and you can see clearly that your position is right, there is somebody sitting on the opposite side of you doing the same research, seeing the same thing and seeing it cut from a different way. And they are clear to themselves that they are right. So like the name calling thing, we have this in the inner circle. The Venezuela thing came up. My wife shut it down. Not the topic, but the political part of it. Trump shouldn't have. She's like, not here. Not in the inner circle. My wife's a beast. People stopped. They're like, our bad. And it was like, you want to talk politics, DM each other. But we're not going to get into the political part of it. We could talk about Venezuela, the impact on the region, like absolutely. But there's enough of this crap in the world. We don't need it in the inner circle. So the WhatsApp chats cleaned up real quick. She deleted some of them and people were on board because they even said like, yeah, you're right. We don't need it here. I love this inner circle, guys. That's why I promote it. It's $9 a month if you want to check it out. JamieGruber.com. But that's my point on this. Sound as far left as you want. You don't need to make your position by diminishing somebody else. That's all. That's my thought on it. Let's see what else we got. Something that many people may not realize about Santiago de los Caballeros is that the city boasts several high-end rum distilleries that primarily produce rum for the upscale European market. Yes, rum, cigars. That area is chock full. What does the cameraman think? What does the cameraman, that's you, Eric, think of Santiago since this was his first time visiting the Heartland City? What were your thoughts?
Amazing. That
really good place to live, where to go. It's really nice. I love it.
You guys hear it? Hope you can hear it. What Lenny think?
She wanted to come back.
She wants to go back?
Yes.
His wife wants to go back. So there you go. Good question. I don't think I asked you that. Santiago is nice, and if you want to go to the beach, just head out to Puerto Plata. I know that's a talking point. I addressed that in my newsletter, and it's true. Ambar, whenever that gets done, that is going to shorten the time to get there as well. But I don't even think. I think what Santiago has done, essentially, like they have unwittingly or wittingly created value outside of the biggest asset in DR, meaning they've almost made it irrelevant for them, the beach and access to the beach. That's how impressed I was with what Santiago is doing. Jamie, I've seen the monorail station. Will there be space to open a business in the station? If so, I'm interested. That's a good question, Chris. I don't know about in the station, but I had asked the question like, man, if I'm in Santiago, where's the monorail going? And if it's not already been done, I'm buying up commercial real estate on that like near stations. Cause like, hey, Bar District X off Station 12. Like that would be a thing for me if I lived in that city, right? Like I'd want to own and build out something, or restaurant district or nightlife or kids play area, whatever. Station 11, Station 10, Station 4. That to me would be a play for sure. Monorail will be great. I think it will be. I really do. Some people are doubtful about its ability, especially with the electric issue, and I get that. System to connect the nation will improve economy as well. I'm excited for that. There's been talk of it for a while, an international train system. I'm hoping that at some point out of jet goes Punta Cana to Puerto Plata. Haven't heard if they will, but that would be really neat. Got to hit the gym. Go for it, senor. Good to have you here. What else we got? There will be businesses and government offices at the Central Station, Station 9. There you go. Didn't know that. Appreciate that, Junior. JR. Junior. I don't know. JR will call you. Somebody up here said, I hope the DR had nothing to do with his capture. As of right now, the thumbnail says that it was the wrong thumbnail. I got to replace it. What I wanted to ask is like, what's the impact on DR? There was a question on this though about like, hey, what about all the bases in DR? Was it launched from there? No evidence of that. And even if there was, I don't think it's really a talking point that anybody's going to want to highlight. But that's where we go from there. All right. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope you enjoy the weekend. I don't know what I'm doing this weekend. My kids are home until Monday. Monday, they go back to school, and it is bedlam at the Gruber house. So I'm so happy to be here. My wife has not only our kids, but like all the neighborhood kids at our house. This morning, they all went to a park together with another mom. So they're just like trading off kids. Amazing. It's amazing to be here with this guy instead. Keep an eye out for Boston. We'll be going up there hopefully next week. Check out Jeffers Studios. Again, guys, jump into the inner circle, jamiegruber.com. Would love for you to be part of that. I'm really enjoying. We're at 650 members almost, I think, or something like that, which is fun. Yeah, right, Eric. It's fun, man. It's like our biggest issue right now is there's too much engagement. Think about that, right? People are like, oh, we need better system, and we're getting them. I'm building an AI bot or chat of my voice that takes all the stuff people are sharing in the inner circle, like recommendations in different parts of the country. If you're moving, what about shipping a car? What about from New York? What about from Miami? All the stuff we talk about, it'll mine for all of that, all of my content, so that inner circle members can simply tap it and ask a question. Hey, I'm in Puerto Plata. I'm going to be buying a condo there. What's the best furniture store? Members in Puerto Plata say this, and this are the best furniture stores. Like next level stuff for the inner circle. So I hope you guys become a part of it, and I'll see you all there. For those of you that are the inner circle, I love all of you. Thank you for the person, and I can't remember who it was that gave me the tip. Here it is, Miguel. Truly appreciate that. That's very kind of you. And yes, very happy to visit Santiago. Happy to go back. Have a great weekend, everybody. Happy weekend to you, my friend Raf. Always great debating and talking with you. Dominican Republic has to do. We'll get to that some other time. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for coming on. I'll talk to you soon.